Copilot for Legal, supercharging your work with AI. I will just kind of preface that and say we have kind of aimed it at legal, but of course, if you are here from a different background or working within a different industry, it will still apply. So absolutely fine if you're not based within the legal industry. So we're going to be having a look at some of the different ways that Copilot can help you today. I think what myself and James sometimes find is that it's all very well getting a Copilot license. It's really exciting. I've got Copilot. It's going to change the way that I work. And then you maybe chat to people kind of a week later and they say, well, I'm kind of using it, but I don't really know if I'm making the most of it. It probably could help me a bit more, but I'm not really sure how to use it. So we always find it really valuable to deliver training sessions on kind of how to make the most of Copilot, how it can save you time. The first thing we're going to look at is simply how to access Copilot, because I don't think a lot of people realise all of the different ways that you can access it. So we're going to very quickly go through those, and we're going to access it through different kind of methods throughout today's session as well, so that you can see those in practice. The first thing we're going to look into is using Copilot in kind of a meeting environment. So we're going to look at things like how we can use Copilot to summarise meeting transcripts, how we can use Copilot to ask questions about meetings that we've attended, maybe generate an audio summary. There's lots of different ways that we can have Copilot assist with those meetings. We're going to look at Microsoft Word as well. Obviously, I'm sure most of you spend most of your time within Word working with long documents. So we're going to look at how Word can help you with those documents. And then we're going to move across into Outlook. I do often get quite a lot of questions about Copilot in Outlook because it tends to be kind of a lesser explored area, but it really is one area that can help save you the most time, because we've all come back from annual leave, for example, hundreds of unread emails in our inbox, and we just say, oh, where do we start? So things like that. So being able to prioritize emails when coming back from annual leave, summarizing long email threads. You get copied into an email thread and there's already been 50 emails before it, and save you kind of scrolling down and reading through all of those. And we can definitely get Copilot to help with that. So first thing, just going to look at how to access Copilot. So first of all, we can access it within our browser. So we can go to m365.cloud.microsoft and it takes you to the Copilot homepage, and you've got that Copilot chat within there. You can access Copilot. You have a Copilot app on your PC. So if you click on the Windows icon or on the search and you search for Microsoft 365 Copilot, it's the same as the web version, but it just opens in like a standalone application. Some people like to pin that to their taskbar or add it to their start bar, so they've got that really easily rather than having to navigate to it using their browser. We can obviously access it within applications. So if you do have a Copilot license, I'm sure you've seen that Copilot button appear on the ribbon. So that's just a screenshot there from Microsoft Word. But obviously we have it from Excel and PowerPoint and so on as well. And this is a new one. You can actually now access Copilot from within File Explorer. This was added in the last few months. This only applies if you have synced your files with the cloud. So for example, I've got a OneDrive sync set up. So when I open File Explorer, my files are being synced with OneDrive, and because they're stored on the cloud, that then means that I can use Copilot to ask questions or to summarize those files directly from within File Explorer. So that is as simple as right-clicking on one of those documents, clicking on Ask Microsoft 365 Copilot, and you can then type in your questions. That might be a question about the document, it might be asking it to summarize the document, and we're getting that answer directly there without having to open our browser or open Word or another application. So our first topic will be looking at using Copilot to transcribe and summarize meetings. Particularly important, all of us attend so many meetings. It's very easy to sit in a long meeting, get to the end of it and think, oh, I can't remember what so-and-so said at the beginning, or I was maybe having a little bit of a sneaky look at some emails and I missed part of that, or I just want a really quick summary of what happened. And there's actually so many ways that we can use Copilot to help us in those situations. And we're going to do a demo of all of these in a moment. So you will see them working live, but I'll just run through them to start with. The first thing, and again, something that's only been, I think it was added at the end of last year, is an audio recap of Teams meetings. So as long as your Teams meeting was recorded and transcribed, so I'm sure most, if not all of you, have recorded a Teams meeting before. So, you're clicking on the three dots at the top of the Teams meeting and clicking on the record option. And that record option includes the transcription. Alternatively, you can just turn transcription on. If you're concerned that you're attending an important meeting and perhaps you will forget to record it, as long as you are the meeting organizer, you can turn on automatic recording and transcription from the meeting options. So there's a screenshot of that just there. So when you open the meeting options, either when you're creating the meeting or you've already created the meeting and you just double click on it and go into the meeting options, you go to the recording and transcription section and you can turn on record and transcribe automatically. So then you don't have to worry about it. As soon as you get into the meeting, the recording is going to start. So with that, when we have a meeting that's been transcribed, we can go into Teams after that meeting has taken place and generate an audio recap. So that is actually an AI voice reading out a summary of that meeting. And you can actually generate these audio recaps of multiple meetings at one time. So you could go back and select maybe a few meetings from last week, maybe 3 meetings, and it would create that into a single audio file, which you can then either listen to through your PC, or you can send it to your phone and listen to it on your phone. So maybe you're popping out on your lunch break, you pop it on a bit like a podcast and you're listening to that recap while you're out and about. So I'll show you how to do that in a minute. We can use the Copilot panel within the meeting window in Teams to summarize the meeting. So again, after the meeting has taken place, as long as it's been transcribed, there's a Copilot option where we can go in and maybe again ask it to summarize the meeting or ask it particular questions about what's taken place and what's been said within that meeting. We can use Copilot to summarize a meeting transcript. So rather than asking Copilot directly within that meeting recap, we could download the meeting transcript and then pose questions to Copilot based on that transcript. And that's particularly useful if you perhaps want Copilot to analyze that transcript along with other transcripts or other documents. So perhaps you've got a particular project or a particular client that you're working with, and you've got maybe a folder and you want to have the meeting transcript. Maybe you've got some other documents in there, maybe some attendance notes, general notes, and you want to say to Copilot, look, summarize this, this and this for this particular client. So then it can look at all of those files together. Obviously, I'm aware that not everyone has all of their meetings in Teams, so I'm not particularly familiar with Zoom, but I have been told that it is possible, or should be possible, for you to download transcripts from Zoom or any other kind of, I think a lot of different meeting applications have the option to download a transcript. So obviously, if you're working within Zoom, we don't have Copilot in Zoom, but you can download the transcript and then pop that across into Copilot. So there's ways of kind of working around it. So we'll look at those things now just to give you kind of a live demo of how those would happen. So let me just open up Teams. Okay, so what I'm in now is my meeting chats area. So I'm in my meeting chats and I've gone back to our previous webinar, which we had a couple of weeks ago, Taming the Nightmare document. And I'm going to go up here to my recap tab. There we go. You may have seen this before, so if you've got the Copilot license, as long as it's an internal meeting, not an external one, then you've got lots of different options in here, again, as long as the meeting has been recorded. So we have the meeting notes, which you can go in and add notes into. And we've got that AI summary, so that will give the AI version of the meeting notes, so what Copilot has kind of gathered from those meeting notes. And you'll also notice any follow-up tasks at the end as well. So if it's detected in the meeting that, you know, someone said, oh, I'll do this, or I'll put this document together, or, oh, Gavin, can you go in and create this for me? Then it would reference those in those follow-up tasks. You can create a custom summary as well, so we won't go into that today, but you can go in and kind of choose a summary that you want, and it will put that together for you. Mentions will detail kind of where you've been mentioned, if you've been mentioned within the meeting, and then importantly we've got our transcript here as well. So from those things that we've mentioned, so the first one, the audio recap, that is at the top here. So if I was looking to get an audio recap of this meeting, I can click audio recap. We can go in and we can choose the style. So that's personal preference really. So executive, we've got 2 speakers, essential information with minimal commentary, a newscast with 1 speaker, fast and concise, or casual, 2 speakers, extra colour and commentary, the longest format, that's up to you. You can select up to 8 meetings, so you can go in and you can kind of click back on previous meetings. You can choose the language as well, and then you click generate. It does take a few minutes, so I won't wait for that one to load, but here's one I prepared earlier. In this area here, we've then got those audio recaps that have been generated. It's showing us kind of what it's put together within that audio recap. We can play it at the bottom in a new window, or like I said, you can listen on a mobile device as well. We can even see the transcript from there as well. Okay, so lots of different options that we've got. That audio recap really useful for those, especially for those longer meetings that you want to go back and review. Other things we've got in here, so like I mentioned, we have got that Copilot button on the right side, so I can click on that Copilot button and that will allow me to ask questions within the Copilot chat, and that's going to search within the meeting transcript for those answers. So I'm just going to copy and paste a prompt across and just start a new chat. So really simple one here. Oh. Hopefully, copy that across. There we go. Did Sabrina mention paragraph formatting in the meeting? So we're asking a question, it's going back and reviewing that transcript, save me having to watch the meeting again or read through the transcript myself. It's going to say yes, but it's also going to give me some additional information as well. And then, as always with Copilot, it kind of suggests additional steps and additional actions that it could perform, and we can go in and select one, or we could kind of pop in our own question or comment at the bottom. In terms of the transcript, so if I'm viewing the transcript on here, like I said, if you did want to download that, there is, once it loads, there'll be a download button at the top there, and we can then go in and download it, and then we can analyze it within Copilot. So what I'll do, I'm just going to move across to Copilot within my browser, and I'll just show you how a transcript can be worked with within Copilot. So I'm just going to copy and paste. The transcript I'm using is from a different meeting. It was a conveyancing meeting, and I'm not just asking for a summary. I'm also going to ask it to include details of actions for each individual, including any due dates, because I know that this was a meeting where a lot of actions were given out, and I want to kind of be able to see those really simply and easily to make sense of those. So I'll send that one through. This one shouldn't take too long. It's not a particularly large document. There we go. So it's telling me a bit about the meeting, so who attended, the meeting dates, a brief summary at the top. We've then got key discussion points, so we can see the different things that we discussed during the meeting. You can see it's highlighted key dates in bold as well, which is really helpful. And then we've got an action log by each individual with the due date, so we can see the individual there, their role, and then we've got what they've kind of said they would do or what they were asked to do within the meeting. So we've got all of those, and we can see all of those points. So something that would have taken me probably quite a while to do if I was in the meeting making my own notes, or after the meeting trying to write everything up, Copilot's been able to go in and do within a matter of seconds. It's also telling me when the next meeting will be, and again it's giving me kind of suggestions of what I could do at the end. So perhaps, for example, I could ask it to draft an email to my assistant detailing his actions and asking him to reach out to me if he needs any assistance. So it's drafting an email, and I can just obviously make any changes, and then I can copy and paste that across into Outlook. Okay, so lots of brilliant things that you can do with that meeting from the transcript. There is another thing that you can do within Teams relating to meetings, and that is something called the facilitator. And again, this tends to be kind of an area that people are kind of lesser known because I think it's a little bit hidden away, to be honest. The facilitator is something you can add into your Teams meetings during the meeting. So everything we looked at a minute ago was kind of after the meeting. We're looking at the transcript, we're looking at the recap, we're getting a summary. If you're looking for kind of that assistant within the meeting whilst you're there, whilst the meeting has taken place, then you'd be more interested in using the facilitator. The facilitator can make the meeting notes during the meeting. It can record meeting tasks, again, whilst the meeting has taken place, and it can answer questions in real time. So rather than waiting for the meeting to finish, you can quickly pop a question in, Claire said this 5 minutes ago, I missed what she said, or when did she said she was going to get that done by? And it can answer you in real time. The facilitator, again, can be turned on in the meeting options. So if you are the organizer, you can turn it on when you're creating the meeting or when you're editing that meeting invite by going to that Copilot and other AI section and turning on the facilitator within there, and that means it will start up as soon as the meeting starts. Or alternatively, if the meeting has already started, you can click the three dots at the top of the meeting window and then go to the facilitator option. Note that it can only be turned on during scheduled meetings. So those are meetings that have actually been created in advance. People have been invited to them, not just clicking meet now or quickly video calling someone. They must have been scheduled. It's really important when we use facilitator to understand who can see facilitator and who can interact with it. And because obviously you might have a large meeting, got some internal people, you've got an organizer, you've got external. Can the external people see the facilitator? So essentially the meeting organizer must have a Copilot license. You won't see the facilitator option to turn it on if you don't have a Copilot license. To enable that before or during the meeting. For internal attendees who are licensed, so they have a Copilot license, they can see the facilitator within the meeting. So I've got some screenshots in a moment that show the facilitator kind of popping up into the chat saying, hi, I'm facilitator. They will be able to see that, so they will know that it's there and that it's working, and they will also be able to interact with it as well. So they'll be able to see the notes and they'll be able to ask it questions during and after the meeting. If you have individuals attending your meeting who are internal but they do not have a Copilot license, they will be able to see the facilitator's notes during the meeting. So if they go into the meeting notes within the Teams meeting, again, you can access that normally just through, there's an icon at the top of your Teams window that says meeting notes. They will be able to see anything that the facilitator has placed in there, but they cannot interact. So they can't go in and, chat to the facilitator or ask questions. Also, because they don't have that Copilot license, they're not going to be able to see that recap tab after the meeting. So they're not going to be able to see, the summary and things like that after the meeting. External attendees, importantly, whether they have a Copilot license or not, will not be able to see or interact with the facilitator. Okay, so it is a tool for those internal organisers and attendees only. I've got a few screenshots because obviously I can't really show you this in real time as nicely as the other demonstration. So I've had to kind of grab some screenshots. So to add facilitator to a Teams meeting, during the meeting or before during the meeting, the transcript is automatically turned on. So if you turn on facilitator, the transcript's turned on. You will see an AI kind of little star icon in the top left corner of the meeting window, which will confirm that facilitator is enabled. And usually after about 1 or 2 minutes into the meeting, the facilitator will pop up in the chat and will introduce itself and say, hi, I'm here, ask me questions, and I'm going to be taking notes as well. It's also able to access the agenda for the meeting. So I don't know if anyone uses this, but you might have noticed that when you create a meeting within Teams, at the bottom there's the option to create a meeting agenda. So you can put in what you're looking to discuss, and if you want to, you could put in time. So maybe in brackets you could put, you know, introduction 5 minutes, topics to be discussed 10 minutes, whatever it is. So it will just pop that in the chat for you as well. It tracks the agenda topics. So if you have put in timings within your agenda, you can see at the top here, it's put my agenda points, and it's also timing how long I am spending on each of those topics. It will also give you a warning, I think 5 minutes left or something before you're due to finish chatting about that particular topic. It will kind of warn you like, hey, you said you were only going to take 10 minutes of this, that 10 minutes is nearly up, try and move across to the next topic if you can. So it will help you kind of move that along. You can ask it questions in the chat, so you can go into the normal meeting chat where you would chat with other people in the meeting, but you can type @facilitator and that will enable you to direct questions directly to it. So for example, summarize the meeting so far, or to ask questions. So we can see here, so I've asked it, what's the proposed go live date for the SharePoint site? It will, as always with Copilot, it's not immediate. It might take a second, and then it's gone through and it's answered my question within the meeting. It's taking those meeting notes. It does take a couple of minutes to get started. So I've been in a few meetings with Facilitator, and you're kind of looking at the meeting notes and you're thinking, is it working? Because nothing's come up yet. And we have been talking for a few minutes, but after a few minutes, it will pop in everything into those notes. It's just obviously got to record it and put that in. So you can go into notes, you can see those meeting notes. You can also see any tasks that it has automatically recorded as well. So again, if anyone's been allocated any tasks during the meeting or said that they're going to carry something out, we'll be able to see those follow-up tasks. You can edit them directly in the meeting notes. You can see here there's the option to add an assignee. It's put my name in brackets, but it hasn't kind of added me there, so you could go in and do that. You could add in a due date, and of course, as always with meeting notes, you can go in and manually add things as well. So if I wanted to manually add a task, just so that's there as well, we can do that. And that's synced across to Microsoft Planner. So if you've used Microsoft Planner, you know that it allows you to track tasks, mark them as complete and things like that. So it's syncing that across. We can also ask Facilitator to create documents about topics discussed during the meeting. So not only are we getting those meeting notes within the meeting window itself, but we can ask it to take that across to another application, so Word document. So again, @Facilitator, create a document in Word that summarises the progress made on the SharePoint site so far. Now, this is only about a 10-minute meeting, and you can see it's created a 2-page document, which is brilliant. It's formatted all of it really nicely. Obviously, I can go in and edit it if I want to, but that's something that's a bit nicer for me to share externally if I needed to, or save to a document management system or something. It will, once the meeting's finished, Facilitator will send a message post-meeting, so that will appear in your meeting chat. It will come up in the meeting chat as a message, and it will just post those meeting notes again. So if you need to quickly be able to go in and find those, as well as those follow-up tasks in a really nice table that again you can go in and edit if needed. I will say, and I'll be completely honest here, that is the only downside of Facilitator is if it's posting things in the chat, so say, hi, I'm the Facilitator, how can I help you? And then you ask it a question and it's posting a message. You do get that little meeting, you know, that sound when someone posts a message in the meeting, it's like ding. You get that occasionally, and sometimes that could be a little bit distracting if you think, who's sending me messages? And you click on it, you think, oh, it's just a Facilitator. So you will get a couple of those, but it's not too many. It tends to be more at the beginning of the meeting when it's introducing itself and things like that. Okay, so we'll move across to Microsoft Word, and we're going to specifically, there's lots of things you can do with Copilot in Microsoft Word. We could talk all day about the different things you could do in Word. So obviously you've got things like summarising long documents. So you can open up a document, you can ask Copilot to summarise it, you can ask it to, you can ask specific questions about the document. But we're going to look at something that maybe is a little bit different and maybe people haven't utilised as much, and that's using Copilot to compare documents. So obviously within Word, which I'm sure you've used before, you have the compare tool. So if you've got two documents, one original and one kind of second version, maybe someone is gone in and make some changes. Perhaps they haven't turned on track changes. Excuse me. You can use that compare tool within Word, and that's providing a character level comparison, and it's literally pointing out all of the tiny things that have changed. It puts them in as track changes so that you can then go in and review those and accept or reject those changes. Now, sometimes that's great, and we want to know specifically what tiny changes have been made within a document. But sometimes perhaps you're looking for more of an overview. Just tell me in general what's changed, or any of the key points that have changed. Or perhaps you want to focus on a specific area, on a specific theme or topic in the document. So, for example, with the financials. So I'm not worried about anything else, but can you just tell me if any of the financial figures have changed in here? So that's where Copilot really comes into its own and separates itself from that traditional kind of compare option within Word. Now, remember, as always, if we're using or referencing files within Copilot, they must be saved to the cloud. So you must have it stored either in OneDrive or in SharePoint/Teams, because Teams is SharePoint, it's just shown in the Teams environment. So as long as it's saved in one of those places, then you'll be able to reference it within Copilot. So we'll take a look at how that works. I'm going to do it within the browser first, just so you can see what it looks like, and then I'll run the same comparison in Word, just so you can see how it's formatted slightly differently. So I'm going to click on Start a new chat. Really important to do that when you are posting a new question or a new topic of conversation that's not related to your previous questions, just so it's starting from scratch. You have got your previous chats down here on the left side, so you can always go back to an old chat if you need to. So what I'm going to ask it to do is to compare two documents. So compare, and when we're referencing a document, we're using the /, or you can click the plus sign, but when you're typing it's just easier just to press the /. And I've got two documents here: how to buy a house demo doc and how to buy a house version 2. And rather than just comparing the two, I am going to ask it to focus on a particular topic, which I'm just going to copy and paste. I don't trust my typing in a live environment. Include a table summarising the key financial differences. So we're looking at a particular topic, and we're also telling it how we want that to be formatted. We want it to be in a table rather than just in a paragraph. So I'll send that one. I have got the answers to this pre-saved. Oh, there we go. Sometimes when you run these demos, you think, if this takes a long time to load, everyone's going to be sitting there twiddling their thumbs. But that one was quite quick. Here we go. So we've got this summary of key financial differences. So it's telling us the differences. So borrowing and multipliers, average first-time buyer price has changed. The local authority search costs have changed as well. So we can see all of those different areas, and then as requested, it's popped that into a table for us as well. Okay, and a high level conclusion. So that's just really giving a summary. So based on these changes, this is what we'd kind of can say about it in that summary. And again, it's offering additional things it could do. Now, what I also want to take a chance to do here is kind of chat about what we can do with these answers. So once we've got that answer, as if you've used Copilot before, I'm sure you've used this one, a copy response. Okay, so I could copy that response, and I could open up a Word document. Just open up a blank Word document, and I could just paste it in. Okay, the problem with that is sometimes you end up with things like that, particularly when you're working with a table. So I would say if you're ever looking for an answer that you want to format eventually as a Word document, use Copilot in Word. Okay, I know it sounds obvious, but it's very easy if you're in your browser already to just start typing things in and then you copy it across to Word and you think, oh, that doesn't work quite as well. So here's one I made earlier. I'd asked exactly the same question, but I asked it within Copilot, within the Microsoft Word application in here. Okay, and that's generated this, which is obviously a lot nicer to look at. It's put in the headings in there. It's still going to be the same answer, the same differences, but it's obviously formatted a lot better within Word. So I just wanted to point that out. The other thing that we can do in terms of the answers in our browser is we can edit the response within Pages, which is kind of hidden away down there. And what it does is it copies that response into Copilot Pages, which is a bit like kind of a notebook online. I don't really know how to describe it. It's a bit almost a bit like OneNote, I suppose, is that you've got it here, but you can notice that I can click in it and I can edit. So it allows you to edit that response. It's set up for co-authoring. So that's my image at the top there. And if you've co-authored before, you know that if additional people kind of access a document, whether it's Excel or Word, you can have multiple people's kind of icons or images at the top. So I could share, and I could share the link to this page, and that means that people can log in or open this link, open this page, and they can go in and co-author it, and I can see their changes in real time. So it's something that we can do from there. Once we've finished editing, the create button allows us to then export it. So if we wanted that now in a Word document, if we wanted it to create slides within PowerPoint, or if we wanted just to convert it into a PDF, then we can do that. So probably not something you do with a summary, but something else, or something you've generated, or report, or any research you've asked it to do, and you want other people to kind of get involved with working on that, then that Pages option, just close that to show you where it is again. It's definitely one to take a look at, that one with the pencil. Okay. All right. Final application I wanted to look at was Outlook. So using Copilot in Outlook, we can use it to catch up on long email threads. So we'll look at that in a moment. Very quick and easy to use. We're literally clicking on Copilot and asking it to summarize when we've got an email open, asking it to summarize that email thread. And again, we can be a bit more specific and say, actually, you know, where am I mentioned, or list the key actions, or focus on this particular topic. We can also use Copilot to prioritize our emails. So the example I gave at the beginning, you've come back from annual leave, you've got hundreds of unread emails in your inbox. I'm sure many of us do the same thing. How do we get through this? Let's just scroll back to the first one and just manually spend hours going through each one from oldest to newest, maybe flagging those ones we need to come back to. It's going to be a lot easier if we just ask Copilot, which of these emails are really important? Which do I need to look at now? And which can I leave for a little bit longer? And we can ask, as always, we can ask Copilot questions. So we can ask questions regarding emails. So we can ask it to pick out particular information. We can ask that to span multiple emails. So emails from a particular individual, emails from regarding a particular client or particular project we're working on. We can also span it across multiple applications. We don't need to only focus on emails. We could say, actually, take a look at my calendar and look at the Teams meetings as well, and review my calendar items and emails to assess time spent on each project. So it can do that work in the calendar area as well as within your inbox. So let's show you how that works. So I've just got a folder here just called Copilot Webinar. We're going to pretend that it's my inbox, but I don't want to kind of open my inbox in the middle of the webinar in case things start flying in. So we've just got a Copilot Webinar subfolder, and I'm going to open up my Copilot button on the right side, my Copilot chat. Again, I'm doing this within Outlook, but you could do it within your browser as well and ask it to look through your emails. So there's multiple ways of doing it, but because I'm in Outlook, I like to see Copilot at the same time. So I'm doing it within here. So the situation I've got in this one is I received an email from Rita back in July last year about a video I was putting together for her. I can see from the icon next to the flag that I did reply, but I can't remember what my reply was or what I said I would do. So really simple way to just demonstrate asking Copilot a question. What was my reply to the dress code video email that Rita sent on the 23rd of July 2025? So it's going to look through obviously my sent items and then going to tell me what I said. I have got it in my previous chats if we need to go, if it takes too long. Let's whiz back to this one. Here we go. Right, one I prepared earlier. There we go. So this is Copilot's response. So it did actually find several emails, but the specific one that I'm looking for, my reply here, it's popped in my response to Rita, and then it's saying I could also summarize the full thread as well, and it's given me an actual link to click on if I wanted to open that particular email. So we can ask it questions. We can also ask it to summarize an email thread. So if we've clicked on an email or opened an email, we could ask it to, you know, go in and summarize the email thread for me. We can also, like I said, ask it to prioritize. So I'm just going to start a new chat and I'm just going to paste into here. So look at the emails. Again, I've mentioned this folder, but you could say in my inbox, generate a list of emails to focus on. Format your response as a table with the columns priority, description, actions required, and due date. So I'm being quite specific in my prompt, and you will find the more you use Copilot, the more accurate your prompts are. I think when everyone starts using it, we put in something quite vague and then it spits something out and you think, oh, that's not quite what I was expecting, or actually I would have preferred it as a table. Ask it, tell it, you know, and if you're asking for a table, yeah, tell it which columns you want. Okay, so the response here, emails to focus on, so it's given it a priority on the left side, so priority high all the way down, medium and low, and it's also given me a description of the email. I'll just move across, and it's also telling me actions required and the due date. So what I should be doing, so I need to create a document into a form, I need to create a digital form, I need to update a table, and it's got the due dates. Some weren't specified in the email, some are just kind of as soon as possible, and some it says there's no actions here, there's nothing you need to do, so don't worry too much about that one. And again, it's suggesting additional things. It could turn it into a board in Microsoft Planner so that I'm better able to kind of manage that, work out. So yeah, I could use that even further if I wanted to. Final prompt, because I just wanted to show, because I mentioned using Copilot across your calendar as well and your kind of meetings and appointments in your calendar. So let's imagine you've had kind of multiple meetings with a particular client or regarding a particular client, particular matter over the last, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and you wanted to maybe calculate the time in meetings spent on that particular project. So review my calendar from the last 6 months, calculate the time spent in meetings with Rita Crawshaw, give a list of these meetings, including the meeting title, date and length, and again, format this as a table. I'll send that one. I think from memory, this one does take a few minutes because it's looking through 6 months of meetings. So I'm just going to pop back and here we go. Go into this one that I did this morning. Here we go. So this is a summary. So it's telling me the time window, the last 6 months, how many meetings there were, total time in meetings, 4 hours, 45 minutes. and then the table that I asked for, so the meeting titles, we've got links to those meetings as well, the dates that when they took place, total time, and it's even say if I want to, I could download the CSV file, which obviously I could put into Excel if I wanted more of like a formal kind of report on that as well. Okay. So lots and lots of things that we can do. Again, you can talk all day about the different things that you can do with Copilot, but I think what the aim of today was is just to show you those things that are possible, and maybe that some of you may not have thought about and not played around with yet. So yeah, so we've looked at Teams, so we've looked at transcribing and summarising Teams meetings. Excuse me. So that could be after the meeting, using that audio recap, or using the Copilot option and the AI summary, or it could be if we want that kind of assistant within the meeting, adding the facilitator. We've looked at words specifically to compare documents. Of course, you can use it to summarise documents and ask questions, and also create documents as well. And we've also looked within Outlook, so summarising our email threads, prioritising emails in our inbox, and also analysing interactions. You can even, we didn't do a demo of this, but you can even gauge people's kind of feelings on things. So, for example, you could say, look back at my emails with, Alan over the last 6 months regarding this particular project. Are his views overall quite positive, or are they quite negative? And give me examples. So it can even look into kind of that language that's been used and things like that. So you can take it kind of even further. I also just wanted to point out, because I keep saying there's so many more things that you can do, Microsoft do actually have a dedicated site for using Copilot within the legal environment. I will pop that link into the chat in a moment. I'm not going to expect you to write that down. But as you can see from the screenshot there, they've got a nice video, and then at the bottom, they've got legal use cases, and you can select a topic, and then underneath it will give you examples and different things that you can do with Copilot. Some of them do also use other apps as well, so you might see it mentioning things like Copilot agents, which we haven't gone into today, but that you might find they mention other things. But yeah, that's very useful to have a look at, particularly in a more specific topic that you might be interested in. Okay, that is everything I had to go through.